Hi everyone, it's Erin Scott here. So I have a short impromptu video. Actually, it's going to be about 45 minutes long. There's a couple things. Firstly, happy, healthy, new moon in Aquarius, partial solar eclipse. So here we are at a dynamic point. All new moons are a new seeded time, new cycle, but here we are with this partial solar eclipse with dynamic aspects happening. So at the end of me speaking here, I'm tagging on a partial video component that I filmed more fully, a fuller version for my patrons, but I'm attaching it here for you. I definitely wanted to send my hello, love, and support to those of you, the main public channel viewers, on today's date, because it's a dynamic week of change, and so there's information that I wanted to share about it. The symbology imbued at the important degree points of this particular new moon shift is important. It's valid, it's poignant, it's relevant, as it always is. But I'd like you to see it, I'd like you to absorb it, drink it in, understand that everything is happening perfectly. This is just part of the human evolutionary cycle. Breathe. I will say that I'm feeling a lot of grief around the shooting in Florida. And, you know, there's a lot going on, right, on the collective. So it's important that we each ground ourselves, keep ourselves sane. We can only do what we can do. When we live in integrity, then the exterior or the collective shifts. But there are certain things right now that we can't control. We can act on behalf of the best and most integrity-driven actions, decisions, purchase choices, making conscientious decisions with what companies, what corporations, what ideals we associate with. That's our job. Our job is to live in our own integrity and own everything. Own our thoughts, our beliefs, our wounds, everything. We must reintegrate, because the issue that's happening out in the world is the break of the psyche. So as soon as we realize that, and if we stop projecting outward and putting all of our energy on the other or the circumstance or the situation, that's where the shift happens. If we want to change the world, we have to change ourselves, period. There's nothing else. There's nothing else. So take what's happening in the world and let it feed you. Let it feed your maturation, your growth, your alignment, everybody. Now, there is a sale happening, a 48-hour sale. I started it yesterday on Valentine's Day, and it ends at noon tomorrow, Friday. I might extend it to the end of the day on Friday, the 16th, which is our Chinese New Year. So we had Valentine's Day on the 14th. We have this dynamic, beautiful new moon partial eclipse today, Thursday the 15th. Tomorrow the 16th is kind of the official start of the Spring Festival in China for the New Year of the Dog. Now, in the video that follows this audio, I'm going to be talking about the astrological dynamics of this particular new moon and the Chinese New Year. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, there are 4 discount offerings happening. I did it on purpose during this portal of time in this powerful week because I'd like to offer you some support at a cost-effective rate that might serve some of you. So for those resonant and interested, it's on offer for you. The link will be below the video. So in the meantime, everybody, I'm sending you much love, support. Remember to keep yourself grounded, breathe. It's a good time to do a cleanse. Keep yourself, create boundaries about how much information you let in. Reduce your technology input, reduce your food and consumption input, simplify, clean, clear your mind, clear your pineal, no fluoride, lots of water, less alcohol, less distraction. It's time to mature. It's time to step up to the plate. It's time, it's time, it's time. And this is the year. So for those of you with questions, you can email me. Or if you want to inquire about services, you can email me. For those interested in becoming patrons for very good exchange and monthly support, the link is below. So all the information is below the video. But in the meantime, the video that follows will bring some information forward about this particular eclipse time frame. And until the next time, everybody, I send you so much love. So let's take a look at the East Coast U.S. chart first, all right? So again, this is for this dynamic week ahead, and we're going to talk about the symbology that's imbued at this point. It's powerful. Now, I will tell you that the last time this particular Aquarius new moon that was conjuncted the South Node occurred was back in February. I think it was the 16th of February, 1999. So I want you to think back to spring of 1999 and think about what was activated in your life at that point. What was happening? What was the pattern? What was the theme? What was the growth? Okay? Because there's a loop back to that learning phase. And I know very specifically what was going on for me then, but I want to do some more contemplations around it. But it feels aligned. It feels aligned. So I invite each of you to do that. The other thing that I want you each to do is to understand that this particular new moon solar eclipse is going to be happening in a particular house of your natal chart. For us, for this particular chart, for the East Coast chart on Thursday, it's happening in our 7th house of one-on-one relationships. Now, for you, it's going to be happening in a particular house. And in whatever house it's happening in, that is where you are going to be naturally catalyzing some major pattern release. Okay? And where new information, a new narrative, a new story of one way, shape, or form is going to be birthed. So there's a transition point happening, everybody. There's an eclipsing out of old patterns. Now, why is this so intense, or why is this so poignant and profound for us? Number one, because it's the sun moon in Aquarius. And Aquarius inherently talks about the deep soul state, the narrative that the soul holds, the collective human soul and the individual soul, holds in the deep past, in the deep future. It's the new human, it's the new humanity, it's the innovative future, it's technology. You know, it is the alien. So the fact that sun moon, every year we have a new moon in Aquarius, but every year when we're at this stage of the year, there is something unique, distinct, being remembered about the self. There's something unique and distinct and maybe innovative, some breath of courage that might come to activate some action, to catalyze some movement. Now, because the South Node is here, we have an additional narrative playing out. And because we have Juno and Mercury tightly conjuncted, we have yet again another layer. So let's talk about the South Node. Now the South Node, and I'm going to pull up actually, let's go ahead and pull up our symbology, because I want to actually pull up the South Node. Now the South Node right now is 15 to 16 degrees, or it will be 15 to 16 degrees Aquarius. Let's take a look at that one. Where is it now? Here it is. Beautiful. I love this so much. I have to tell you, I haven't looked at this symbol yet. So, indeed, Aquarius South Node positioning for this eclipse. What are we looking at, everybody? A big flippin' businessman at his desk. This is being eclipsed out. There's something about the patriarchy, something about big corporate action, the corporate narrative, big pharma, big ag, all of it. There is something being eclipsed out, okay? Layers of it. And it goes deep. This is millennia old, but it shows the modern picture of a big businessman. The keynote, the ability to organize the many aspects of an enterprise involving a large group of human beings. Indeed, there is the benefit of this narrative as well. We can see that. The keynote shows us that this is about organization and enterprise involving large collectives. And indeed, in the 0 degrees Aries chart for this particular moon, this stellium is actually happening in the 11th house. For us, for East Coast time, it's the 7th house, also relationships, right? But this is the higher level iteration of a big businessman at his desk is about organization, okay? And to use it harmoniously to bring collective growth, collective benefit. Now, the lower iteration of a big businessman at his desk is hierarchy, is corporate manipulation. So there's two things being activated with the South Node placement. It's very juicy. It's very appropriate for our now, no question. So now let's go to the Sun Moon. The Sun Moon, and I have to tell you, when I saw this again, it felt so flippin' appropriate. So the Sun Moon conjuncted point is at 27 degrees. God, I can't read it. It's 2707. Another 7. Sevens have been really speaking to me a lot of late. So Sun Moon 2707, 27 degrees, 7 minutes. Now, what is that? A tree felled and sawed to ensure a supply of wood for the winter. The keynote, the knowledge and skill used in its natural surroundings for the satisfaction of vital basic needs. Vital basic needs. This is about, you can see the key phrase here, intelligent foresight. What this is talking about is being intelligent, being perceptive, being discerning, being mindful, being awake and aware, and doing what you need to do to prepare yourself for the upcoming season. What does this mean? First of all, keep in mind, this is happening in Aquarius. So Aquarius is talking about the new humanity, and it is talking about evolution that's inherently happening. It's unfolding. What I love about the big businessman at the desk, combined with preparing for the future, is there will be shifts and changes going on with the corporate and government structures that the world has been living in and amongst for decades, centuries, etc. And there is a need and a call to be mindful and awake and prepare. Prepare accordingly. Now, we don't necessarily know exactly what needs to be prepared, but we know that there is going to be some shift and change with the financial systems. We know that because Uranus will go into Taurus the 10th, I think it's the 10th of May. And we know that when Uranus moved into Aries on the 11th, was it the 11th of March? I think it was, 2011. That's the day that the Japanese earthquake, tsunami, and nuclear meltdown happened. The day, within 24 hours. So there is shaking and rumbling happening with the move from this sign to this sign. There may be, I'm not going to say probably because who knows, but there might be earth shifts and changes happening. There could be earthquakes, for example, that could happen with the shift on, again, I think it's the 10th of May that we're talking about here. But the point is that Taurus talks about financial systems. So there's going to be at least one iteration of shift happening this year, certainly, if not coming up in the spring, with regards to this. And with the sun moon at this point, everybody, you know, we have to do some thinking, some planning. And I'm in the same boat that a lot of you are, meaning that I certainly know that there's shifts happening, but I don't necessarily, I'm not in a place necessarily to prepare myself in maximal capacity simply because of my financial situation. However, I'm mindful. I'm mindful and I'm awake. So we can at least prepare ourselves mentally, emotionally, spiritually, and physically as well if we can. So the tree felled and sawed definitely talks about material preparation. So that's what I want to tell you with that. Now, there is something connected here, which is that Juno is here and Mercury is here. Juno is at 26 to 27, which is right here. An ancient pottery bowl filled with fresh violets. The importance of traditional skills and artistic values, deeply rooted in humans' instinctive feelings as frames of reference for humans' most authentic emotions. This is about artistic and aesthetic quality sets, right? The authentic emotional state of the human way of being is critical. So there's a delicacy here of feeling that we're talking about here. Juno is where we unconditionally love, where we're loyal. There's a loyalty to the love with Juno. So it's where we can receive unconditional love from life, and it's where we can step into a state of loyalty with what we love. Here it's reminding us about ancient art filled with fresh violets, nature, freshness, newness. Violets are purple. There's a spiritual narrative that we're seeing here. So this is about connecting with our emotions, with our aesthetic narrative, because each human, beauty and aesthetic is part of the human condition. It's not an extra. It's not meaningless. It's highly meaningful. Beauty and nature, health and wholeness, as we see it, as we perceive it, as we create it, is indeed critical to the human experience. And I love this because as we're being prepped or called to prepare ourselves logistically for a new iteration of the human experience, guess what's also simultaneously imbued in the narrative? Connect with beauty, connect with nature, connect with spirit, connect with the delicacy of feelings, of emotions, of the aesthetic quality sets that bring you great joy. Poetry, art, pottery, creation. That is imbued, it's important in as you prepare. Remember, this is also important. It's linked. It's linked at this particular eclipse. It's so big. Now, we also have Mercury here, everybody. And Mercury is mental efficiency. So do you see what's happening here? So here's the narrative. A garage man testing a car's battery with a hydrometer. The keynote, the skill in applying knowledge of natural laws to the solution of everyday problems resulting from life in our technological society. I love this so much because this mental, and by the way, this is at a level of growth, according to Dane Rudhyar, who divided this up into different levels of human growth processes, human evolutionary processes. This is a mental process, meaning the 26th degree, the 27th degree, and the 28th degree are all part of a mental or mind-oriented evolution. What does that mean? It means that this new moon eclipse is new mind. New mind is wanting to be birthed here, everybody. Really gorgeous. Like, I am so in love with this because I haven't looked at the symbols up until this moment with you. And I have to tell you, it is delicious. We have a businessman here. We have the garage man testing a battery. The need for and the desire to naturally up-level our skill set and mental efficiency. This to me is about discernment, testing a car's battery, mental efficiency. This is about discernment, up-leveling efficiency of the mind. But it's not with, and it's about logistics. So do you see here we have an up-leveling of the mind connected to delicacy of feeling. Pay attention to your sensory body. Pay attention to your emotional body. Understand the aesthetic qualities of life are important. And then on top of that, we have a physical preparation. Mental, emotional, physical are all called to happen naturally. And we don't have to work at it because it's just happening. Now, the interesting thing, everybody, about this whole narrative is that for the sake of the East Coasters, this story of up-leveling is enmeshed in our one-on-one relationships, meaning that it's connected to, it's directly impacting and directly connected to how we relate. Now, importantly, the DC, which is conjunct the South Node, which actually even ever more brings relationships to the fore of importance, is ruled by Uranus. So not only is the area where this is happening in the house that's in the sign ruled by Uranus, but the house itself is ruled by Uranus, meaning everything is placed with Uranian energy. The South Node is on that point, the house is ruled by that, and the stellium is happening in the same sign. So everything is Uranian in its structure. Uranian is electric, it's shifting, so change is imbued, and it is our unique, distinct brilliance. However, it also does imbue a trauma narrative from the, let's say, the life path narrative of the human collective psyche. There's a lot of trauma there. So imbued in this whole story is to release trauma with our relationships, with our relating. Keep in mind, the guidance for all of us was love. The card love popped out of the deck for us initially. Accessing a base field of love and not attaching any, let's say, wound narrative, because again, we had the wounded child come up as well. Not attaching the wound narrative to the influencing of our interrelational dynamics, absolutely key. Could not be more appropriate. This is very exciting. Now, if we go to this particular chart again, everybody, the part of fortune is right at the ascendant. Right at the ascendant. Part of fortune right at the North Node in Leo at the ascendant point. This is talking about our flow, our bliss, our ease, what we desire, what we crave. Everything is right aligned with perception. The ascendant is our perception. So this is very, very powerful. It's very juicy. I'm so excited about it. Now let's take a look at a couple things here. If we're looking at Pacific Coast time, San Francisco, same moon, same time, so 1:05 p.m. on Thursday the 15th is the point of this new moon eclipse. And if we look here, we can see that the stellium, this PowerPoint stellium of the Sun-Moon conjunction with Juno, with Mercury, with the South Node, all in Aquarius, all in the 9th house. And you can see in this one, Venus is conjunct the M.Sc. So here, love is really activated. But here, the focal point for the for the West Coasters, and by the way, this is very unusual. I've never done a reading with multiple charts like this. And for some reason, it felt appropriate. It was called to come, and so I pulled these 3 charts. This is going to speak to those of you that are pinging into this. No doubt about it. There's a reason why I pulled all these charts. So for the West Coasters, wouldn't it be interesting if the East Coasters, the West Coasters, and the Londoners, and some of those in Europe, have different focal narratives, especially for this patron group, because this is a small group here. So there's some focal point, I think, I have no question about it, is coming up for you, because indeed this is the chart. This is the chart. Now, look at this. In this chart, everybody, for the San Francisco time frame, the West Coast U.S., look at this. Part of fortune exactly conjunct the AC. So where are you also in your bliss and your flow? When you reperceive. It's your perception. It's all about perception. In addition, it's 29 degrees, a critical degree Gemini. It's all about how you use your mind. Wow. Huge. Huge. Now, let's go up here. The focal point for the West Coasters, 9th house. 9th house is the higher mind. 9th house is the house of how we expand ourselves through travel, through culture, through learning, through education, through learning new philosophies, new understandings. It's the expansion of the self. So the focal point for the West Coasters perhaps could be There's new education, new learning, new teaching capabilities coming forward. There's a reboot happening. There's a release of wounds and trauma and an imbued new birth of your new self, the new iteration of self, everybody. Again, juicy. Now, let's go to London time, okay? Again, same point in time that the new moon is happening. Now, in this particular chart, it's happening in the 5th house. Again, part of fortune is conjuncted exactly the ascendant point. So in all 3 charts, what's happening, everybody? The flow is the perception. Now, here it's in Libra, another air sign, but ruled by Venus. So there's a Venus thread here. This is also about justice, harmony, balance, dynamic equilibrium in relationships. The perception is about when you reperceive relationships in, let's say, a narrative or a filter of justice and equal participation, equal dynamics in relationships, harmonics. What is the harmony in relationships? When you connect with perceiving life through balance and harmony and justice in your relationships, there's some key shift that's going to go on for you here. It's connected just inherently. Again, you don't have to do any work with any of this because this is just the natural activation. This is nature. So here, though, look at for you, everybody. For my Londoners and for those at this time frame, this focus is 5th house. 5th house is creative self-expression. So it could be that the focus for those of you out there is about how you are releasing past toxic patterns of either procrastination, self-dismissal, self-denial, and moving into a new birth of self that has to do with new creative emergence. Delicious. Truly, everybody. I just think this is fantastic. Yeah. Now, the interesting thing about this chart that I'll say is that the South Node is, of course, still in Aquarius, as it is in all the charts, but here you can see that it's actually not in the same house. I love this, actually, because let's talk about this. In all the other charts, in the East Coast and West Coast charts, okay, so let's go ahead and shrink that down. So if we're looking at the East Coast U.S., we have all of the points, including the South Node, but the stellium for the new moon eclipse with South Node, all in Aquarius, all in 7th house. In the San Francisco or West Coast U.S., it's all happening in the 9th house. However, no accident, because there's something different here. This is about losing toxic patterns of non-self-expression and moving into confidence with regards to your self-expression in regards to the collective. All of these are in Aquarius, so it has inherently it has to do with serving humanity. But the South Node for my Londoners is in the 4th house. 4th house is about the emotional foundations of the self. It's about home and family and your inner private reality. How you experience life on an inner private internal emotional level. The South Node here is implying that for you to move into your self-expression, you have to release, South Node, you have to release any toxic patterns that have to do with toxicity in the early life that, again, would have been part of your distinct soul print. Mom and dad and family and circumstances of your early life are not to be blamed. They were just reflections of the narrative that you chose to hold, that you are growing in this life. So, very specifically, for this particular chart, there's internal work to do for your emanating self-expression to come forward. Juicy, everybody. Oh man, I'll be excited to hear how you're resonating, everybody, with this. Now, let's now talk about the year of the dog. Now, I actually went into my online library for my archetypal profiles, and I pulled up the PDF of the dog. Okay, now here we are, beautiful little golden retriever here, and I want to let you know that the year of the dog is going to be and this is the year of the earth dog, from what I understand, very different from the year of the fire rooster that we're just coming from. In fact, let's pull rooster up. And you can see in the list of archetypes here, the dog is the 11th out of the 12. Rooster is, of course, the one before that, the 10th sign of the 12 animals. Now, we're coming out, everybody, look at that little sassy. So we're coming out of the year of the rooster, all right? Now, I have to tell you, during my year, my 2017 cycle of this relocation, I have been in direct contact with at least two, if not three, very dynamic rooster people. Now, if I'm not mistaken, I don't know actually if Donald Trump is a rooster, but because last year was the year of the rooster and he was the focal point, let's say, of the collective, I feel that he imbued the rooster. He certainly was the cocky one coming forward talking a lot, as was the Republican Party in general. But let's look at this. So the year of the rooster that we just are completing now this week is full of energy. It's very vocal. It has efficiency. Now, I would not apply that to Donald Trump, but just for the sake of the generalized energy for rooster, there's efficiency and there's an assertiveness to rooster. Certainly the case with what I experienced with these two people that I met this year. So this is about you are encoded. This is about the soul print, but we're talking about the quality set here. The quality set of rooster, okay? Let's keep that up there. So rooster here, rooster is efficient, methodical, resilient, resourceful, and they're strategists by their nature. They're dominant and highly communicative by their nature, inherently intense, outspoken, honest. I'll put that in quotes for some of the people that we might be talking about. Because actually, in my world, the roosters that I came in contact with, I will tell you, all of them had Uranian or Neptunian aspects to key birth planets or house placements in their chart, which made lying or being less than honest very free-flowing for them. So, for example, the outspoken nature of rooster can actually not necessarily manifest as honesty. This has to do with a higher iteration of rooster. But the outspokenness can come just as much from the wound and be completely out of line with integrity, completely out of line with honesty. Okay? But we have intensity that we had last year, an outspoken nature to the year. We had an outgoing and industrious nature to the 2017 cycle, okay? So details are important to the archetype, whether managing finances, which is a distinct skill of the rooster, or a tidiness, organization, and practical planning are fundamental drivers for the rooster. Now, keep in mind, we're talking about the government as a whole wanted to make changes swift and certain with regards to downgrades to the protections of the environment, to animals, etc., right? So there was a lot of efficiency with what got cut in the 2017 cycle. So directly reflecting the comb of the, at the head of the rooster, and the wattle of the rooster, even forms a pageantry, okay? A pageantry is associated with the rooster. Now, is that not completely applicable for the dying cry of this particular year with this particular presidency in the U.S., of course I'm talking about the U.S., with regards to the desire for a military parade? exactly perfectly on point. It's absolutely natural to this cycle to have this insanity playing out. Rooster, positioned as the 10th sign of the zodiac and reflecting the functionality of the 10th phase of every whole cycle, is inherently outwardly expressive. Roosters are powerful personalities and inherently love to socialize. They are, however, also reliable and practical in their relationships. You as Rooster, and we're talking about the year 2017 as Rooster, was intrinsically vivacious and, when allowed to flow, can move toward popularity. Roosters are socially talkative and thus inherently skilled at debating and discussing information. In Vietnam, it is said that because of the strength of the beak and claws, the rooster can find a worm in the desert. This speaks to the nature of rooster and its encoded ability, through diligent activity, to manifest success even in the most difficult of circumstances. The growth edge for you, or for the year 2017 as Rooster, involved tempering the extremity. The innate tendency for blunt communication, the innate tendency for egotistical self-orientation, the tendency for hypervigilance to detail when it loses relevance to the whole, the tendency to overanalyze to the point of doubting the position or conclusion, the tendency for restlessness, and the tendency to need to control people, situations, and circumstances, right? So everybody, that, my darlings, is the rooster. So we're moving out of that phase, thank God. Now, in addition to that, it was also the element of fire. Now, here we can see that the element of fire is influences, obviously, the animal quality set. The archetype of animal is influenced by the element and its archetypal expression. So we can see that fire represents summer. It's associated with Mars, right? So it's fiery, it's action-oriented. It represents flowering, blossoming, and dynamic fiery expression. So it's about embodiment, definition, dynamic action, and creative expression. Now, the big deal with that, everybody, is not only did we have Rooster, but we had Fire Rooster. So everything was exacerbated, right? Now, we're moving into Earth Dog. Beauty. Look at this gorgeous. So, some of the qualities of Goo is alert, attentive, loving, loyal. As Dog, this year will be more humanitarian focused. Indeed. And why do I say indeed? Because of this. Because this new moon eclipse, partial solar eclipse, is happening in Aquarius. Now, it does this every year, meaning we have a new moon every year, but we don't always have a new moon eclipse, right? So it's a new cycle. And indeed, it's a new 19-year, 18 to 19-year cycle of humanitarian effort. Really, really good, everybody. So this year will be more humanitarian in its basis. And no accident, can I just say, zero accident, total alignment, that we're in an 11-year, that we have this 11th position zodiac animal and element coming forward for this year. Is it not fully aligned? Just beautiful. Trust in life, trust in life, trust in life, because there's a magic to it that is inherently mysterious, but it is webbed. It's intelligent and it's self-organized. So with regards to this 11th phase of every whole cycle, Dog is inherently concerned for people and their well-being. In the Western system, this 11th position is that of the Aquarian, also the humanitarian. As each system reflects holistic wisdom and natural law, one reflects the other in both phase and function. All is one. Justice, equality, integrity, and honesty are key themes with this particular cycle of the Dog. Dog is well known for being fair-minded and a giver, and one willing to sacrifice dreams, ambitions, and desires for the sake of others. With this imprinted tendency, we can see the reason that dog can choose to feel victimized and fall into playing the role of the martyr. Now, that's definitely going to come up for people this year, no question. But it's a matter of knowing that that's a growth edge. So, the archetype is imbued with a nostalgic streak, looking at the past and perhaps even idealizing it. Connected to this and on a whole, dog has an innate tendency toward fault finding, anxiety, excessive cautiousness, cynicism, and pessimism. Of course, that's definitely going to come up too. They want the best, but they cannot necessarily see that the best may already exist in the present moment. Often well-respected, dog is naturally a good, faithful, and devoted friend. In fact, this archetype is known to exhibit real loyalty to those they love and fierce challenge for those who may threaten their loved ones. They are warm, empathetic, and have a genuine interest in others. Dog is easily loved and readily acts to inspire confidence. Interestingly, the tender-hearted dog is simultaneously non-emotive, loving yet careful and self-protective. The conservative nature of dog is also evident in the material world. This archetype is the least materialistic of all the Chinese animals, innately preferring the simple life, simple yet genuine. Okay? Now, let's look at Earth. Let's look at the element of Earth. So here we have, down here, Earth represents change, the change of seasons, and the transitional last month of a season. It is represented by the planet Saturn, which is about limit and the obligation for maturity. Earth represents the in-between period of change that involves dampening and leveling. It is about alteration, transformation, transmutation, conversion, and change. So everybody, yes, dog is meeting us over the course of this year of change. It will be a year of change. Uranus moving signs into an earth sign is very reflective of dogs, this earth dog year. Dog itself, but the fact that it's earth dog is imbuing several things at once. One, there's going to be change this year, and it's going to be material change, earth changes. Not just earth itself, but the physical body might be going through changes. Our physical realities, our home might be changing. So there's going to be physical changeability with earth dog this year. There's going to be a natural tendency for people to move toward activating their humanitarian effort, philanthropic effort, toward the goodness of the whole. And people will become victims, or they'll think of themselves as the martyr. It will be maybe overly sentimental over the past and idealizing the past, because there will be changes this year that might be difficult. And so the good thing about dog is that there's going to be some loving aspect, a loyal aspect to meet that. But as we read here with dog can also be highly defensive against what they perceive as being danger to their loved ones. So what does that mean? It means that some people on the planet are going to go into hyper defense mode, and they're going to have their people. They're going to be ultra loyal to some identified demographic, whether it be their family, their friends, some social group that they're part of. So keep in mind that all of that is activated this year, all right? I'm trying to think if there's anything else. We'll talk more about it, everybody, because I'm planning next Saturday to do kind of a live stream. I might be doing it over Zoom, by the way. I might give that a shot. I've not used it before, but I might do that. For any of you interested, you can just let me know. Send me a note, and we'll go from there. But we'll talk more about these shifts and changes occurring. So this will not be the end of the conversation about it. But I have to tell you, I, for one, am thrilled that we are moving out of rooster and into dog. I think just naturally there's going to be benefit to the change. there's also going to be change to the change. But we're moving away from this kind of fiery, exacerbated ego chapter to something that's going to level, just like Earth said here, the Earth element. This is about dampening and leveling. And it's also ruled by Saturn. By the way, Saturn with limit and maturity couldn't be more appropriate either, everybody. And by the way, what came up with dog is the simplicity, the desire to live simple yet genuine lives. There's probably going to be more of a trend this year with people moving into tiny homes or, you know, living in a schoolie, you know, traveling, whatever it's going to be. But there's going to be more downsizing going on, I think, more than ever before. So we'll see what happens there. But there's a genuineness and a simplicity here that's coming after this fiery, egotistical, bombastic, showy, pageantry crap that we've been undergoing. And indeed, Saturnian energies is taking over, and there is a dampening and a leveling for the, let's say, eruption that's been inflamed. It's almost like the planet and the human ego, the collective human ego psyche, is inflamed. And this year there's more of a dampening and a leveling to that that's taking place, which I think is fantastic. That's how nature works. It's like it's in these cycles, you know. All right, beauties. I hope that gives you some information to help you over the course of this week. I am indeed sending you so much love and support as always. And I'll talk to you again very, very soon. If you have any questions from what was brought up here, just leave a comment in the Facebook box or the Patreon box. Lots of love, everybody. Happy weekend. Talk to you soon.